Hi there, my name is Kyle Arenz, and I'm a teacher here at KCS. I teach Physics 11 and Physics 12, Science 10, and then this next year I also have the opportunity to teach Outdoor Ed 11 and 12, which I'm really excited about, which I want to share some. Just going to share my screen here. Okay, so I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of next year, so that yeah, you can just be informed and ask any questions if you need. So the way I'm going to run it a little bit differently Outdoor Ed next year, and this is kind of what it'll look like. Just a little bit about myself. That's me in the middle there. That's my wife Jessica, and that's my son Rowan. I did scouts or car camping when I was a kid, but when I was in grade 10, I had the opportunity to go winter camping with my school, and I really, really loved it. Over the last 18 years since I was in grade 10, I've been on about 60 backcountry trips with small groups and large groups, mostly as the leader. I hold a wilderness first aid certificate that's active. And yeah, I love teaching physics and science. But my passion that I love is really outdoor learning. And so one of the reasons why I love the outdoors is that I really think you get a sense of community. And with that, a connectedness to myself, others, and God. I think that it's a real opportunity to develop perseverance when you're out in the backcountry and prayer. And I'm excited to share these with the students. So that's kind of my vision, is that we would grow in community, grow in perseverance, and then really grow in this this idea of prayer and get to practice it lots while we're out there. So a bit of an overview. So it's going to be run differently. Instead of kind of hiking Knox Mountain and doing local trips, I found some of the most joy in my life getting to do these bigger backcountry trips. So the first trip in September is going to be, we're going to go from Kelowna, drive to near Whistler, go on a 3-day hike. The second, third, and fourth trips spaced throughout the year are going to be more in the Okanagan. And then the fifth trip, big trip, is going to be down in the South Okanagan by Cathedral Lakes. So most of these trips are going to involve leaving Thursday. We all meet at the school Thursday morning, and then we'll return to school. We'll get on a bus, we'll drive, and then we'll return to school on Saturday evening. So it's going to be run as an out of timetable class. So rather than, second block of the day, students might have an hour of outdoor ed. I don't want to do it that way. I want to run it outside of the timetable. So we end up having lots more hours than a regular course because, these trips, you're basically learning from sun up to sundown, maybe even overnight sometimes. So yeah, we'll have one trip in September, one in October, one end of January, early February, one in April, and one in June. So these 5 big trips spaced out over top of the, or over the year. So, but for these big trips, we will have classes that'll run after school from, let's say, 3 to 4:30 or so. And in those kind of classes leading up to the big trips, we'll discuss things like safety, what our safety plan is. We'll plan the trip, we'll pack gear, I'll take students to go buy the groceries so they can plan their meals. And then we'll also, pack together as a class to make sure everybody has everything they need. So I'll just kind of go into these 5 trips a little bit to give you an overview of what I've planned. So the first trip is Garibaldi Lake. So we'll meet at KCS here, and then we'll drive. We'll go through Merritt and down near Abbotsford, and then we'll head up north of Vancouver to near Whistler. And so Garibaldi Provincial Park, one of the most beautiful places I've been. So it's going to be a 3-day, 2-night trip in September, kind of the second week back. And so this is just a little image of the Garibaldi Lake. It's just beautiful. So it's in a provincial park, and we'll be on a trail, a marked provincial trail the whole time. So we hike up, and then we stay near a ranger lodge in tents by Garibaldi Lake for 2 nights. And in the middle day, we'll do a nice hike up to Panorama Ridge. It's really beautiful. Last time I did it, I was just blown away. And so I think it'll be a really cool way to start off our year. And then the second trip is going to be closer to home. It's going to be a bike pack trip. I do this lots where we have saddlebags that go on the back of our bike, and then you have, you know, your tent, your gear with you, some in a backpack, and then yeah, we'll start near the big white turnoff on the KVR. They've pulled up the railroad track, so it's a really nice place to bike because there's no cars. And then we'll start biking on the KVR. Up here's the big white turnoff. So we'll start around here, and then we'll bike along where they've pulled up the railroad tracks for over the course of 3 days and 2 nights. We'll make our way to Shoot Lake Lodge and then down to Penticton. So it's a really beautiful bike path, an amazing view of Kelowna as you come along the trestles at KVR, and then come down through Naramata. So it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever gotten to do in the Okanagan, and I can't wait to share it with some students. So that'll be a 3-day, 2-night bike camp trip in October, at the beginning of October. One of my real passions is winter camping. So in February, we'll, you know, have snowshoes, borrow snowshoes, and then we'll head out to near Hydraulic Lake. So again, here in the Okanagan, we'll head out, we'll snowshoe in. If anybody's ever been to the Kelowna Nordic Ski Club, it'll be right around there. And then, yeah, we'll have there's a scouts cabin that we'll kind of use as a backup, but we'll build quincees. I've done this every year, and it's such a neat experience to. Quincy's actually get quite warm on the inside, so I'll train the students on how to do that beforehand, and then we'll get to build them and stay in them, which is a really neat experience. So that'll be in end of January, early February. And then in April, Okanagan Mountain Park, Peachland, it's kind of right across from Peachland or so. We're gonna go on a 3-day, 2-night trip, which is just beautiful. It's so neat because you get to see Kelowna from the other side of the lake. But it is still it feels like a backcountry trip, which is really neat. And then the final trip will be in June at the end of the year. And so this is down Cathedral Lakes. It's down in the South Okanagan, west of Oliver. And so there's beautiful, again, this is a provincial park. So there's, you know, it's all on marked trails, and you get to really experience, yeah, just incredible views at Cathedral Lake. So looking forward to that one. Yeah, so before and after trips, that's the kind of just a quick overview of the 5 trips, you know, in September and October, February, April, and June. But before and after the trips, we'll do community building, we'll do trip preparation. So we'll look at safety, laying out all of our clothing and gear, packing it together. We'll visit a thrift store so we can get some, you know, secondhand things to keep the cost down. We'll go grocery shopping together as a class so that we can pack all of our food together. And then after the trip, we'll make these really fun post-trip reflections where students can take video footage from the trip and then put it together in a neat video that you'll get to see, which is really cool. We'll also work on some skill building, you know, clothing choices, stoves. We'll talk about building fires and water purification, how to pack a bag properly, safety, knots, shelter building, you know, how to change a bike tube, those types of things. And then while we're on the trip, again, we'll do community building. One way I really want to encourage the students to pray is through journaling with reflective prompts. So, you know, while we're on our trip, I'll encourage the students to take a moment, take a few minutes, and just kind of have, you know, a reflective solitude time where they can journal as we're kind of in the mountains or overlooking the lakes, which will be really, really neat. Yeah, students will be taking care of each other, working on, yeah, they'll have some times of silence and solitude and prayer, which will be really neat. And then around the campfire, we'll have reflective discussions, which I think will be awesome. So the cost for this trip, so basically there's 5 big trips. So these costs include the food for it. So the first trip, the 3-day, 2-night hike near Whistler down by Garibaldi is going to be $65. The 3-day, 2-night bike camp trip here in the Okanagan, $42. The 2-day, 1-night winter camp in the Okanagan, $25. The 3-day, 2-night bike camp in the central Okanagan here is going to be $42. And then the final hike, you take 4x4 up, so it's a little bit more expensive, $150 to the base camp. So the total cost will be $325 for these what I really think are, just incredible trips and experiences. So I think, yeah, these 5 trips costing $325 is worth it. And I hope that students can, work hard at whatever jobs and save and put away that money, because I think they will make memories that will last a lifetime, and really experience, that perseverance, get a chance to grow in their prayer life, get a real sense of community. So I want to do one payment of $150 in September, and that'll cover the first 3 trips. So the September, October, and the winter camp trip, and then a second payment of $175 to cover the last 2 trips. So that's just an overview of the cost for these 5 awesome trips, $325 spread out over 2 payments. I've got a calendar link. I'm going to post this on the Google Classroom. That'll show what the dates are for the trip, but the most important ones are the first 2 trips. So right when we get back, it's basically the second week of school. We're going to take off Thursday and Friday, so students will have to work ahead a little bit in those classes, and then catch up, because we're taking Thursday and Friday off. And then we're going to go to Garibaldi, so drive down just north of Vancouver, September 15th to 17th. So students, if they need to book off work, that will be then. And then the second trip, October 13th to Saturday, October 15th. That's going to be our KVR bike pack trip here in the Okanagan. So those 2 dates are really important, in that students can have them well in advance here, a few months, so they can book off work or do whatever they need to do to make sure they're available for the September 15th to 17th and October 13th to 15th. Yeah, and that's about it. Students will be in the Google Classroom, so they can contact me through there. There'll be things, my desire is to keep the cost of the course as low as possible. So there's really an emphasis on, not going out and buying a whole bunch of jackets, gear and that kind of stuff. I'm going to try to have as much borrowing as possible. So I encourage students, look at the gear list. A thing like a big backpack, I'm hoping that lots of people within your network of neighbors and family and friends, that somebody's going to have a big backpack that they can borrow. And I'll also have a few that I've kind of gathered that students can borrow gear. But as far as like stoves and tents, those are going to be supplied by KCS. So it's really just the personal clothing aspects that students will have to get. So they'll have a copy of that gear list that they can, begin to gather things like a rain jacket, boots, things like that over the course of the summer. So I encourage you to check in with the student and make sure that they've kind of gathered those things over the summer, so that when September comes, it's not a big surprise trying to, get things like a sleeping bag located and that kind of stuff. My desire is that people would be able to use their networks, borrow, and to keep the cost down as much as we can. So yeah, if you have any questions, please, you can send me an email, and you can set up a time to talk on the phone as well. But Kyle, KYLE.ARENDS @KelownaChristian.ca. But yeah, I'm really excited. I really think that this is valuable. When I think back to my my high school experience, this really set me on a path of just loving the outdoors, growing in my relationship with God, and really developing perseverance and a sense of community and a deeper prayer life through my time in the outdoors. So I can't wait to share that with your student. Okay, take care and let me know. Send me an email if you have any questions, and we can go from there. Thanks so much.